Yeah, so there's certain personalities that are more prone to shame, ones that are more prone to guilt. The way that I got taught it in therapy was shame is I am bad, guilt is I did something bad. And the shame one is worse because you don't believe that the action or the object is bad, but you believe that you are fundamentally bad. And taken to really strong extreme shame, it can be really crippling if you believe that you're bad. And so therefore, if you believe that you're bad, everything you're doing with that perspective, like trying to avoid the shame, but in a way walking into the shame again and again. It's like so it's difficult. People that tend to have very strong shame tend to find it really hard to commit to practices which would help with the shame, or to commit to things that will help with that, because it induces too much shame over time. You know that you haven't improved or you haven't got better. So there tends to be a lot of butterfly effect, but that's not always true. I'm just saying some generalizations. So in the end, what has to happen is you have to be able to hold that wretched feeling of feeling like you're bad and not acting from it. So you have to be able to hold it and not move. So say now, if this conversation is generating shame, you have to hold that shame and stay here. Before, when it's so bad, the shame comes and then you have to run away. You have to distract yourself by YouTube or conversation, or you can't stay in it, so it's a holding it. Sometimes that's too traumatizing to hold. So if that's the case, then there's things like TRE, Wim Hof, EMDR, somatic work that can help encourage, hold that shame. But in the end, you have to hold it and not run away from the seeking perspective. So the seeker is always trying to get to pleasure and avoid pain, and pain is insanely painful. Shame really hurts. Because it's here, in this moment when you're not running, that the truth is. And ultimately, outside situations keep repeating because of the internal. But for somebody that is strong in shame, it might be better that you do therapy that can allocate blame first to the outside before you have the ability to see that to change your patterns will change the outside. But sometimes that's too hard to handle, so sometimes you have to do trauma work, which in trauma work it's very specific. You have to allocate blame. Like this person, say, abused me, or this bad thing happened, and you have to allocate it and put it outside so that it can be something that comes to rest in you, and then eventually see that none of it was true, none of it was you, and that there is really no internal or external. So what you seemingly feel internally will be what you find externally. But if you're not ready to get to that point, then you have to go back and work on the trauma level. You can do that through therapy. I'm not a trauma worker. But all is illusion. And there has to be a staying here, not running into the timeline to try to find relief. Staying here. And that includes like seeking on YouTube, seeking in activity, seeking in relationship, seeking with other people, trying to get relief from here or there. It includes that. It's staying here, staying in yourself. So Nisargadatta gives the practice of you put the personal consciousness on the feeling of I am. But even if you have strong shame, doing that can be painful, because every time you don't do it, you feel intense shame. So then it's like, and then it's like a battle, but that's not the way it is. It's more like if you can just do it 5 minutes a day, that is like an absolute celebration. But people with strong shame, it's like, okay, I didn't do it for like 95% of the day, I'm an insanely bad person. And then it's like intense burning shame, so then there is a giving up on it. But it's like, it's the opposite. It's like when you just catch yourself once a day, this is like celebration, and then the next day it might be twice you catch yourself, the next day 3 times, 4 times, and then in 5 years' time, that's an immense difference. But people with shame, you feel bad for not getting it perfect straight away, so then it's like there's a giving up. And ultimately it's not you that has to get somewhere. It's not that you've got to practice it and get somewhere. It's that you're stilling the mind, you're stilling the ego for something else to happen. And you use the ones that are closest. The consciousness and the I am. The personal consciousness is resting on the I am, and they are the gateless gateways to the infinite. Because they are seemingly the infinite limited. The I am is the first thing that comes in. The feeling of I am from beingness. The empty looking is the first thing that comes in from the infinite consciousness. Like if you think of it like a paper bag with 20 holes in it, if you put a light in, and then the hole in the bag is the personalized consciousness. The light coming through that hole is the personalized consciousness. But that isn't the big consciousness, it's a piece of the apparent big consciousness. If you go back into it, then you dissolve into the infinite. So these are the places. Who is looking now? Who is prior to I am shameful? Who is prior to I have done something wrong? And that feeling will keep you running. Coming back. Yeah. How does that land?